Hello and welcome to my Battle for Azeroth dungeon guide. In this video we are looking at the Motherlode on normal mode. Starting off, there is quite a lot of trash in this dungeon and they are closely grouped together, so it's really easy to pull extra packs unintentionally. The only thing to look out for in these opening packs are the mech jockeys. They will try and run over and jump inside the mech suits. If allowed to do so, they will become mechanized peacekeepers. These peacekeepers will buff themselves so that their auto attacks will cast chain lightning on the target, and they will also use an energy shield that blocks any attacks from the front. You will also encounter some adult thugs. They will cast a spell called Inhale the Vapors, which enrages them. Classes that have the ability to dispel enrages like druids can remove this buff. I have skipped ahead to the first boss because, like I said, there's a lot of trash in this dungeon and the early trash all does pretty much the same stuff. The coin-operated crowd pummeler is the first boss and he's quite simple. He will periodically cast a static pulse that deals damage to all players and applies a short damage over time debuff and knocks them back. He will also cast Foot Bomb Launcher, which spawns a number of bombs on the floor. After these bombs explode, they will deal damage to nearby players and apply a stacking debuff called Timed Detonation that increases your damage taken by 50%. These foot bombs can be clicked on, and doing so will kick them in the direction your character is facing. If you kick the bombs at the boss, then the boss will take damage and get a stack of timed detonation. This can be risky because the hitbox of these bombs with the boss is quite small, so it is easily possible to kick the bomb and miss, only to have it explode near the tank or melee and make them take increased damage from the debuff. Finally, the boss will cast Shocking Claw in a large cone in front of him that deals high damage and stuns anyone hit for 3 seconds. So if you see him casting this, make sure you are behind him or at the side of him. After the first boss, you will meet some new trash, and again there is quite a lot of it on the way to the second boss. One thing to look out for in these trash packs are the sappers. They will drop a lot of bombs on the floor, and sometimes they'll all be clumped together in the melee, and these don't do much damage on their own, but if you get hit by multiple, then they can kill you. Moving up the hill, you will fight some Stone Fury trash. These guys will apply a shield to themselves that absorbs damage and makes them immune to interrupt. Right after applying this shield, they will cast Furious Quake. This is a channeled ability that deals high ticking damage to nearby players, so break the shield and interrupt this ability as quickly as possible. At the top of the hill, you will face Azeroth, the second boss. Near Azeroth, you will find some fracking totems. You should take them as they are useful to have during the encounter. When you engage the boss, he will have some Earthrager adds with him. These adds will apply a stacking bleed effect on their auto attacks and will occasionally fixate on a target with Raging Gaze. Occasionally, all Earthragers will also cast Resonant Pulse, which is a channeled AoE that damages nearby players. Finally, an Earthrager will periodically become infused with Azerite, which frees them from any CC and increases their damage done by 50%. But this also causes them to take 150% increased damage, so when this happens you should quickly swap to this Earthrager and burst them down. During this boss you can use the fracking totem to stun your current target for 1 minute. There isn't really a surefire time for when to use these totems, at least on normal mode, but you can use them to stun 2 of the 4 Earthragers at the start of the fight, so you can focus on dealing with the other 2. After Azeroth, you will take the most pointless minecart ride that only takes you about 60 yards forward. After landing, you will be in a new area that contains a lot of trash, and once again you have to be careful here because it's very easy to pull extra packs. The Venture Co masterminds in these packs will conjure a leech globule that moves towards the ranged players, dealing damage along the way and healing the mastermind. Some packs will also include weapons testers, which will cast Echo Blade. This is a hard-hitting frontal cone silence, so they need to be tanked faced away from the group. This is easier said than done because they will also cast Force Cannon, which knocks back nearby players. This is even more dangerous considering how closely packed together the trash is in this area. Finally, the groups can also contain an alchemist that will cast Transmute Enemy to Goo, which polymorphs the target player into a slime. This can be interrupted, but if it does go off, it can also be dispelled. After these packs, we will come to the third boss, Rixa Fluxflame. Right after the pull, she will cast Chemical Burn, which applies a damage over time effect that deals moderate damage every 2 seconds. So one of these should be dispelled because the second one will expire before the dispel comes off cooldown again. She will also cast Agent Azeroth. This causes her to spray Azeroth at a player, which deals high ticking damage and creates patches of fire on the floor that damages anyone who stands in them. Her final and perhaps most deadly ability is Propellant Blast. She will target a player and spray propellant in their direction, dealing high ticking damage, but it will also push the flaming Azeroth patches on the floor in the same direction. So this does create a situation in which Azeroth pools can be pushed under your feet, causing you to take even more damage. Whoever is targeted with this ability should use defensive cooldowns and be spam healed. After Rixa, you will need to fight through a minefield to get to the final boss. Along the way, you will encounter technicians and their war machines. They don't do much, but the technicians will buff the war machines with overcharge. You will also have to deal with ordnance specialists, which will call down artillery strikes at a player's location. Crawler mines will also emerge from the ground and chase players. Upon reaching their target, they will explode, dealing heavy damage to nearby players. After clearing through the minefield, you will get to the final boss, Mogul Razdunk. For this boss, you will want to loosely group around the boss because of his Gatling Gun ability. This is a spray of bullets that deals high ticking damage to anyone in the cone, and he will rotate in a circle as he sprays the area. When he casts Gatling Gun, do not be in front of him and slowly rotate around with him to avoid the damage. The reason I said to loosely stack was because he will also fire a homing missile at a player. This missile will deal high initial damage and apply a fire damage over time debuff to the target and all other players within 20 yards. So if you are targeted, simply move out, but not too far so that you don't get caught out of position by Gatling Gun. At some point, the Mogul will fly up into the sky and gain 3 stacks of a shield and fire big red rockets that stick into the ground. At this point, he will also summon adds that will shoot and throw grenades at random players. While this is happening, the boss will be spamming Drill Smash. This ability targets a player, moves to their location, and then smashes into the ground. To get through this phase, you need to stay near a big red rocket and force the boss to smash into them with his Drill Smash. After doing this 3 times, the boss will revert back to phase 1 until the end of the encounter. This concludes the Motherlode Normal Dungeon Guide. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe for more Battle for Azeroth content in the future.